Welcome back to the program. Just talking before the news there about this liberation treatment that is gaining a lot of momentum for giving people hope who have MS. Now, there is still some caution there, and which is why Health Canada has not, as of yet, approved any of this treatment or whatever. That's why people have to fly out of country to get it. But some of the very interesting stories of people and people who seem to be, physically a lot better, with this 5 to 10 minute procedure, which is like an angioplasty. And again, this Italian researcher, Dr. Paolo Zamboni, made headlines worldwide, and it's really gaining momentum. So there's a lot of pressure from people who suffer from MS, putting pressure on the MS Society of Canada. And then now the MS Society of Canada is going to be looking at lobbying and probably has at this point, if I'm not mistaken, the Canadian government on behalf of the people who suffer from MS. So it's something we're going to be watching very closely, because I think this could be, and sometimes, when it comes to breakthroughs in treatments, a lot of times they start off with an idea that a lot of people say, you know what, that's kind of crazy. But then it just may work. So I'm glad they're looking into it. But again, you have to be, cautiously optimistic with something this new. But I've just been blown away by what I've seen so far on the news. So we're going to be watching that very closely. And a couple of weeks ago, when a caller made reference to that, also made reference to this Alberta woman by the name of Autumn Stringham. Autumn Stringham and her brother Joseph inherited bipolar disorder, a severe mental illness that led to the suicides of her mother and her grandfather. Now, Autumn was in a psychiatric hospital on suicide watch by the time she was 22. Joseph, her brother, at 15, was prone to violent episodes so terrifying that his family feared for their lives. But after Autumn and Joseph began taking a nutritional supplement developed by their father and based incredibly on a formula given to aggressive hogs, their symptoms disappeared, and today they both lead normal, productive lives. Now, she has written a book about it. It's called The Promise of Hope. It's her personal story of her fight from madness to wellness, all due to the vitamin and mineral supplement that works on the premise that many forms of mental illness are caused by nutritional deficiencies. Now, this book is also an astonishing scientific account that moves from a kitchen table in Alberta to the treatment offices of a distinguished Harvard psychiatrist and into the labs of a skeptical medical establishment. And it climaxes in a bitter but eventually triumphant battle with Health Canada, in which the tiny micronutrient treatment company is exonerated and praised for saving the lives of thousands of Canadians previously thought lost to mental illness. So Autumn Stringham was diagnosed with bipolar disorder when she was 20 and has been symptom-free for over 10 years. She's a public speaker, author of mental health resources, and a political advocate for the mentally ill. She has spread the hope of recovery to thousands of Canadians and a growing worldwide audience. And she is from Coaldale, Alberta, and she joins us on the phone line right now. I think we got a hold of her in Idaho. Autumn, welcome to the program.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Are you still in Alberta, or are you living in Idaho now?
My husband's an American citizen, and so we came down here. I held him hostage in Canada for 17 years, and it's his turn now, so we're in Idaho.
Okay, well, that's only fair of you. But Autumn, this was, as I mentioned, about 2 weeks ago, a caller alerted me to what you've been doing and how you've been, working very hard on this. And before we go any further, why don't we just clear up, first of all, for listeners who are not that familiar with bipolar disorder, exactly what is that?
Bipolar is the lowest of depressions and the highest of maniacal highs that you can have. It's a chemical swing between depression and mania, and is often controlled using medications, and a lot of times those medications don't work, and so people are left pretty much out of control. It's a difficult thing to live with.
Now, you in what I'm reading on you, you said you inherited this disorder from a family member. So is this something that is inherited?
They say there's a genetic component, and you see it a lot in families where parents have it and then children and grandkids. in my family in particular, it's a really strong genetic connection. And, we don't understand exactly what it is that causes it, but I have some theories about what causes it in my family, because most of us have really severe problems with gastrointestinal problems and digestion, and I think that leaves us all really deficient in the right nutrients, and it made a mess for all of us.
Now, Autumn, when you were first diagnosed, what was your treatment?
Oh, my first diagnosis was actually postpartum depression. That lasted for about 3 weeks. They put me on just a basic antidepressant, Prozac and Paxil, tried a couple of different things, and it pushed me into a mania that was just off the planet. I was hallucinating and really, really violent, and that's when they determined that I was actually bipolar and started me with the lithium treatments. Over 3 years, I tried 13 different medications in different combinations, and nothing was really working for me.
So the medication didn't work. Then what happened? What if the medication wasn't working, what was the next course of action for you?
Well, I got to the point where my psychiatrist had a meeting with my husband. They determined I wasn't allowed to be alone with my son anymore, and he was 3 at the time. And I had to have 24-hour adult supervision because I'd be waking up in the middle of the night when my husband was on midnight shifts and, redecorating the house with a belt sander and doing ultra-creative stuff. And so, just I think as an answer to prayer, really, my dad ended up coming up with a conversation with a guy who was a pig feed formulator, and they drew some comparisons between my bipolar brother's behavior and that of really agitated swine with something called ear and tail biting syndrome. They came up with a really crazy idea at the time. I wasn't happy about it, but I'd reached my wit's end and couldn't take care of myself anymore, and so my dad volunteered to have me come down to his house, and he put me on this supplement program that they had put together based on this pig feed recipe.
So what?
And that started turning around.
So at first you thought this is a crazy idea, but you were at your rope's end. You knew that you needed something. The medication wasn't working. Your dad comes up with this idea of this supplement that has worked with these pigs, these agitated pigs. So obviously going through your mind was like, well, did you really think it was going to work? No.
And in fact, I was really angry with him because we had just lost my mom to suicide less than 2 years before that. And I really had it in my head that if I just listened and did what I was told, took my medication, that somehow I was going to come out ahead. And I was really trying hard. In fact, I was on a 5-drug cocktail at that time. A whole combinations of uppers and downers and sleeping pills and stuff to take care of the side effects of the last med. And I was prepared to keep going with that, but I was just getting worse and worse. And so, it was a serious frustration. In the state that I was in, I wasn't thinking much at all. I was sleeping. I had to have help getting showers because I would freak out in the shower. I was really, really bad, and I don't want to make anybody think that that's what bipolar is. I was way beyond my symptoms of bipolar at that point. I don't want to stereotype other people with bipolar with that kind of behavior, but I was really ill at that point.
Yeah, absolutely. Very severe case of bipolar disorder.
Yes.
So let's talk about the supplements. What was in this that your father developed that worked for you?
Well, we still don't know exactly what ingredients work. What we do know is that when his friend, who was working in the swine feed industry at the time, he understood that certain minerals and vitamins have to be supplemented in the right ratios from one to another, or it creates other kinds of problems with the swine. And so based on that recipe, they just took a broad-spectrum approach to it, and I think originally it was like 96 ingredients, and they've since whittled it down. It's been 14 years now for me without any meds, but they've whittled it down to I think like 36 ingredients. It's still a broad-spectrum nutritional approach, and it's very carefully formulated, and it's something that can get past my gut problems. I can actually absorb it and use it.
Yeah. So we're talking you're 14 years without meds. Do you have any symptoms coming back at all at any time?
If I stop taking the supplement for a while, like if I forget and I go on a trip for 3 days, or if I get the flu and I can't keep food down, I'm not digesting normally again. I do get symptoms back. I'll start getting agitated. I start getting, I think, a little bit like an ADHD child, like I can't read recipes. Simple things like that will start to go. I'll have an increase in anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I know that I would get sick if I stopped taking it again. It would just be a matter of time.
And what exactly, how do you take it? Is it something you mix with water? Is it a pill form? What is it?
Well, they have some nice flavored powders now that they've developed for kids. I take it in capsule form.
Okay.
That seems to work best for me. I don't have to taste it that way.
Sure. And how readily available is this for other people?
Very. They've really worked on it in Canada. It's produced in the United States, but they have worked, and I think they're still working on actually being able to get it sold in Canada from Canada. Right now, people order it from the not-for-profit company that my dad and his friend set up, and they just get it in from the States and take it readily. There's an online support program and a phone support thing that they do.
Mm-hmm. And
really
it's an all-natural product.
Yep.
And
it's vitamins and minerals and amino acids.
Yeah. And what's it called?
It's called Empower Plus. And the company that they've set up is called True Hope Nutritional Support. So people can actually go to truehope.com if they want to get some information about it and get set up with the support program. Okay.
Now, I need to take a quick break here. I want to talk about where it's at with Health Canada, because I know that you talk about in your book about the battle you had with Health Canada, similar to when I was talking earlier about what's going on right now with the MS community and people suffering from MS and this treatment called the Liberation treatment that they want to get approved here in Health Canada, because it seems for a lot of people that it's actually working. And, your father developed something that has actually worked for you. So we'll talk about that and where Health Canada is involved in this. And we'll take a quick break here. We're talking with Autumn Stringham. She's a political advocate for the mentally ill and author of A Promise of Hope and the astonishing true story of a woman afflicted with bipolar disorder and the miraculous treatment that cured her. 780-430-9300 or 1-877-827-2346. Back with more right after this.